Liza Lawrence here with episode 37. The cure would be worse than the disease. Welcome to Wonders and Miracles podcast, where we celebrate miraculous moments in everyday lives. I'm your host, Liza Lawrence, a wife, mother, teacher, and miracle lover. If you're new to this podcast, this is what we do here. Each week on Miracle Monday, we celebrate awe-inspiring true stories from regular people like you and me. People who have experienced something surprising and wonderful that could be considered the work of a divine source. My desire is to help us recognize God's hand and His love in our lives, because the more miracles we notice, the more miracles happen. Thanks for listening to the show. Now let's celebrate wonders and miracles together. 1 John chapter 4, verse 18 and 19, it says, "There is no fear in love, but perfect love casteth out fear, because fear hath torment. He that feareth is not made perfect in love. We love him because he first loved us." And in John chapter 15, verse 12, "This is my commandment, that ye love one another as I have loved you." My dear friend Emily is on the show with me today, and Emily has progressive Addison's disease, and she wasn't sure that she believed her doctor when he said the cure would be worse than the disease, until she experienced the cure after her brain surgery. In her darkest moment, the procedure right after the surgery, or the cure, she realizes what her doctor said was true. Not sure she was strong enough to survive the night, Emily shares with us the miraculous moment of her liberation from the darkness and how love saved and carried her through the pain. I'm really excited for you to hear Emily's story and several miracles that she experienced during this time. But first, I wanted to give a shout out to the review of the week. This is from BemBem2. "This podcast brings me joy. I love your podcast. It makes me feel happy and like we are so blessed." Thanks for that review. I just wanted to let you know today is my birthday, and as a birthday present to me, I am asking that each of you, as a huge favor, go and if you have not written a review on iTunes yet, go jump on iTunes and write a review. It's quick, it's easy, and you can keep it short. All you have to do is just give it a rating, write a few words of encouragement. It really does help people find this podcast. I've had so much fun over the last few months sharing these stories with you, and I know that they're blessing your lives, they're blessing my life, and I believe that they can bless other people's lives as well. So spread the word as my birthday present to me. Share, share, share. And I so appreciate your love and your support, and I feel that. And I'm so grateful that you're listening and that you're supporting this podcast and that you're sharing these beautiful stories. And for those of you who do have a story to share, please submit it on my website at wondersandmiracles.com or contact me through email. I just love hearing everyone's stories. I know and have a strong testimony that these edify each other and lift us in times when we need to be lifted. So thanks so much for supporting this and for celebrating my birthday with me today. Now I want to jump into Emily's story. This one is so inspiring. Emily has been a friend of mine over the years, and she's just truly an inspiration in my life. So I hope you enjoy Emily's story. All right, well, I am here with Emily today, and she's living in Washington, D.C., teaching right now. She was my children's teacher, and she's just been an inspiration to me over the years. And so I'm really excited for her to be on the show and share her experiences with her health journey and struggling with progressive Addison's disease and some of the surgeries that she's had and what she's learned through those. So Emily, thanks for being on the show, and tell us a little bit about how your health issues started for you.
Sure. They Initially started in my first semester of college in my undergrad. Healthy going in, excited, I think, like anyone, to be independent and start adulthood. But after my first semester, I noticed pretty quickly a loss of strength and just really tired, like to the bone tired. Not just being out late and just the stress of normal school, but just unquenchable. No matter how much sleep I got, I craved more. I started bruising really easy. I started losing my hair, but then growing hair. It was this weird juxtaposition in that. Been sick all the time. I was throwing up multiple times a day for no reason. It was like my body didn't know how to cope with the stress placed upon it, and that was its reaction. That progressively just continued to get worse and worse, and naturally went and saw people about it. But it took a considerable amount of time to really diagnose that and to figure out what was going on with me.
Wow. So, how did they find out what was going on and tell us what they diagnosed you as?
Well, I contributed my sister to this. She married a wonderful man, and my brother-in-law's brother was on a clinical rotation with a doctor that just did rare diseases and syndromes.
Hmm.
And at this point, it'd been almost a year of going in and out of doctors, of trying to find help and lots of different diagnoses, go on medicine. It never helped or made it worse. I really was at the point of thinking, well, this is just how it's going to be, and maybe it's in my head, and really trying to change how I was viewing things, thinking it's got to be me since there's no help out there. But my brother-in-law had mentioned something to his brother, and he talked to this doctor, and the doctor was really intrigued and said, hey, set up a phone consultation. And we talked, and it ended up being like a 2-hour conversation. And he said, I think I know how to help you if you're willing to fly out. This was in Portland, Oregon. I'm willing to take a chance and see. So at that point, there's nothing to lose at all.
Yeah.
So of course we jumped on the chance of that and went and saw him. And really quickly, he was able to catch what the other doctors had missed, which was Cushing's disease. You have two different forms. You have Cushing's syndrome and Cushing's disease. And the disease is caused primarily by a brain tumor. And the tumor is in the pituitary gland. There's lots of things that the pituitary gland does. They call it the master gland. It communicates to all kinds of parts of the body. One particular is the adrenal glands. Those two relay back and forth quite a bit. I was overproducing certain hormones in the brain, which meant I was overproducing hormones and cortisol in the adrenal glands. And too much kills the body. It causes too much stress and things just start shutting down. It doesn't know how to handle all of that. The tumor was causing so many miscommunications that by the time I saw Dr. Ludlam, I was in a really rough state. So we had to be pretty progressive pretty quickly, which means we had to go into brain surgery pretty quickly to remove that. Of course, there's lots of prep that goes into that and making sure that that's the right decision. Because whenever your body gets really weak, it's really hard to heal. We did test after test to really make sure that this was the best choice, if there would be other ways to battle that. But ultimately for us, that was the best choice, which they actually went through my face. Because to cut the skull, that causes lots of infection and doubled the time in healing. So they chose to go through my nose, and they cut open my nose, they stretched that, and they went through a little canal that's the base of the skull behind your eyes, and they took the tumor out piece by piece. And it's the least invasive. That took a long time to heal from, with the swelling to go down, because they're stretching in black and blue and bruised for quite a bit of time. You know, pre-surgery and pre-becoming sick, I obviously saw many miracles involved. And it was undeniable, the Lord's hand in the journey to find the doctor, to find help. But ultimately for me, understanding the role of divinity in my life really came after a lot of the traumaticness and the healing of that and the revealing of God's hand in my life. One event comes really forefront to my mind, and it was right after my brain surgery. I was required to go through a testing to see how successful the surgery itself was. And they had explained to me what that would be like previous to the surgery. They explained it in great detail. And I was prepared mentally for what that would be, but definitely not physically. I had no way to anticipate the amount of pain that would be required for this particular procedure. The doctor, right before we really started the bulk of all the surgeries, he said, Emily, the cure would be worse than the disease. And I thought,
Mm.
there's no possible way that that's true. But after this, I learned to believe that that was true. In essence, we just needed to know if they got the full tumor. If they didn't, they had to hold on medicine to see how much my body would go into stress. The tumor was controlling certain parts of the body and telling it to produce certain hormones and certain steroids within it. And to make sure that they got the whole tumor, they had to know something was still communicating. So they purposely put stress in the body. And when your body's in stress, it makes epinephrine, norepinephrine, lots of other different hormones to battle all that's placed on the body. So purposely putting stress on while in the ICU, while healing. You can imagine I just got out of brain surgery. I'm in and out of consciousness. I'm unable to really talk. I'm all bandaged up. I could feel my mother holding my hand beside me. I remember her talking to me and letting me know that she was there. I remember hearing some of the doctor's voices, and I knew that my sister had came to visit me. And I remember after that, it was really quite this blur of darkness. I just remember feeling so dark. A lot of that was just the physical pain of trying to manage surviving a very serious surgery, but also trying to then survive the night of recovery, which is a scary thing in itself. We knew that my body may not be able to handle the stress that was on it. Pretty soon I recognized that things were not going well at all. It was in the middle of the night. I knew that I was in a serious situation. I wasn't able to communicate what was going on, but I knew that I was slipping, and I knew that my body wasn't fighting as it needed to. No matter how much I tried to make it, it was completely out of my hands. And I think that's the first time that I had ever felt completely out of control. Inability to do anything. I couldn't talk. I couldn't express that I was leaving. And I thought, this isn't how I want it. I want to be in control. And the more that I tried to fight and the more in control I tried to be, the more I felt myself just more surrounded by darkness. At that moment, I remember my mom like, Emily, I need you to keep fighting. I love you. And wanting so desperately to say, I love you too. Like, I'm doing the best that I can, but I don't think it's going to be enough. And thinking, oh, I hope my mom's not disappointed in me. I remember at that moment, the only thing that kept coming, that I kept repeating in my head was, I can't do this. Heavenly Father, I can't do this on my own. Please help. At that exact moment, I had this incredible amount of peace. It was just still. And I think anyone has felt this oppression of just pure lack of hope or despair or just intense amount of pain, whether that's physical or emotional. When there's a moment of just light, it's as if you catch your breath for the very first time and you breathe as deeply as you can. Looking back now on the experience, I very much believe it was more of an adversary trying to distract the ability to reach out to a higher being for aid. But I remember that being gone and that presence being gone and being filled inside, not the room, but inside with just so much light. And that light let me remove from that pain just enough to have a clarity of mind. And I remember it just being still. And I didn't expect that. I knew that the Lord loved me, and I had many experiences with his divine love before, but I didn't expect such a revealing of an all-encompassing and resolute peace. The type that removes pain in a very physical way, but also a mental way, that I was able to block off things. And I remember thinking, well, how is this possible? As I was thinking this, I was able to see very clearly people from home that were thinking of me. I remember seeing the Langfords and the DeLucas and the Huckvales. And these individuals I hadn't seen for quite a long time because I had been in treatment. I'd been away. I'd been in Portland, Oregon. They were in Kentucky, and it'd been at that point a month and a half away. And they had no idea really what I was involved in or what I was doing at that moment. There's no way that they could. But I could hear the conversations they were having. I could hear them say, hey, let's say a prayer for Emily Cotton. And I remember they said my full name, which I thought was interesting because they knew who I was. They could have just said Emily. But I wonder if that was more of a benefit for me at that moment to know that I knew that they were talking about me. I heard, another family said, hey, I wonder how Emily Cotton's doing. Let's send her some encouraging thoughts. And, they're just in the middle of their lives, and they were in the living room and just talking. And it was just a casual thing. But I could feel the amount of love they had for me. And I was really taken back that these families would care that much about me. We talk about each other in such generalities, but we feel and experience things so individually. When someone takes a moment just to see you, that for me is the ultimate amount of love. I was just overcome thinking, how could people love me that much? And why would they stop for me? Out of all the things that are in their life, they didn't have to, but I learned really quickly the power when people band together, what that can do for someone. That gave me just enough strength to come back into myself and really keep going. My mom said the first thing that I said when I came to was that I felt so loved. By the time I got to go home, it'd been about a month, and it was the first time I was really out in public, and I was very self-conscious. You can imagine what someone would look like after a brain surgery and so much swelling and all that goes into just being in treatment. In my mind, I felt really disfigured, and it was hard to be in public. But I was out there in the first time, and we went to church, and we were only going to stay for just a little bit. But I don't know why, but I had this thought to go down and go into this one room. And I imagine I went there because I was trying to remove myself from all the noise. It was really hard to be around so many people and so much noise. There was so much stimulation. I was inequipped to know how to handle all of that. My body wasn't ready for what it meant to be in a social situation again. And I was in this room, and I saw this bright piece of paper over in the corner. And I don't know what possessed me to go and pick that up. But I picked it up and I unraveled that. And what I saw was, pray for Emily Cotton on this day at this time.
Wow.
And it was the exact time and it was the exact date of my surgery and of that night. I had no idea. My mom had no idea that this was happening, or that everyone that we cared about took a moment to think about me and to give me the strength that I needed, because I was beyond my ability. I knew quickly that I wouldn't be able to do it on my own, that there's no way I had the physical strength to fight. The Lord's hand was really revealed in the way that he allowed other people's strength to make up the difference. And that has really carried me through a lot, to recognize that I may not have it within me, but the Lord puts people in your life and that may carry you. And that's okay to be carried for a time.
I love that message, that we need each other to help us.
Yes, yes, we do. I was so grateful the Lord thought to reveal that to me at that moment, because it gave me the strength that I didn't think was possible. You know, love can make you fight for things you never thought that you even wanted to fight for. And I think that carried me through all the recovery. You know, all the time I was in the hospital, anytime that I got roughed, I thought, there's people that think I can do this. And I never want to disappoint them. And ultimately, I didn't want to disappoint God, that he gave me more time and he gave me the ability and the strength to press forward. And that's led me to have just a remarkable life after that I didn't think that I would have. And I'm so grateful for the extra time that I have.
Wow, that is so beautiful. And I love all these little miracles along the way, that, you know, your brother-in-law had his brother who knew a doctor, like helping you, guiding you to that. But I love that the Lord showed you that piece of paper.
Right.
That is so tender, that he would say, I want you to know that what you felt in the hospital in that moment was actually real and true. Do you think you had an out-of-body experience, or was it just a knowing that they were?
I could describe their living room even to this day. And there's some homes I don't know if I'd even been in. But yeah, I felt like that it was a moment that I really was removed and that I had the ability to see them. Yeah, I would say that it was something like that for sure.
Wow, that's amazing. So have you had other health scares, or do you feel like, was that just the beginning of the journey?
You know, nothing's simple. And I think everyone can relate to that life just compounds in moments of discouragement. And then you have moments of reprieve, but it progressively got worse for a very long time. That surgery was just the beginning of a very, very long battle. In fact, all my 20s, I was in treatment and never thought I'd ever have the opportunity to go back to college. I left college, and then 7 years later, I started my first semester back. So all those years was surgeries and treatment and sick and hospital visits and emergency visits and stays, and consistently trying to figure out how to balance the body after removal of the pituitary gland as well as the adrenal glands. it was a very progressive and a risky surgery to take out both of those when there's no other organs that do that. There's no other replacement for that. So you're completely reliant on modern medicine to supply that. And it didn't work out very well in the beginning. And I think we thought we made a mistake for a very long time, but it's now turned around, and it just takes a body a long time to figure out how to live in a very different way. Mm-hmm. And it took me a long time to not make it the center of my life. I think a lot of it was, I thought I was a really strong person. I tried never to talk about it, but yet I was obsessive about it. I woke up thinking about it. I felt it in every part of the day. There was never a point where I didn't feel weak or didn't feel like it changed my decisions of what I would do or wouldn't do. And I let it run everything for so long. It was hard not to. I was always in this survival mode. Mm-hmm. And one day I thought, well, what would it be like to do it differently? And it was really quite dramatic. Really quickly, I was able to conquer that fear of it consuming me. Is it still a part of my everyday? Oh yeah. Every day I wake up and I start the day with meds. I end the day with meds. In the middle of the day I have meds, and every day I have to gauge what I'm going to do and plan accordingly. And if I get it wrong, I'm sick, and medicines to counterbalance. And it's a constant juggle, and it progressively will get worse, and it could shorten life. There's no ability to plan what it will or will not do because we're just kind of in uncharted territories. So there's this middle ground where you're planning for a future, but you have to be okay with no future. It's a hard place to be within, but I feel like I've figured it out.
Yeah. So you found peace with it on some level.
Yeah.
And as I knew you, obviously after this, you're back in school, and you did seem to be conquering the world. You were just taking it on.
It took me a long time to find peace with where I should be, and am I in the right place at the right time? Mm-hmm. And feeling this constant irritant that maybe I'm missing something, that I'm missing this higher calling, or missing this, I didn't have that conversation with that person, so I be held accountable for that, or I'm not doing as best as I can and could be pushing harder. I could be doing more. And there's a level of peace that comes with letting you break. And I just remember thinking, well, I can't do it all, and maybe that makes me weak, so let me just be weak, and almost this cracking open. And the cracking open allowed just more light to be put in. Mm-hmm. And the more light, the more I just slowed down. And there's a level of peace that comes with completely giving in, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And accepting life rather than fighting with it. I think that's a huge part of learning. There's a saying that says, whatever we resist persists. And when we're fighting against something, it's our obsession, and it causes more problems than needs to be. But when we just accept it, and accepting the outcome, whatever it is, that we might not be in control of the outcome.
Right.
Kind of surrendering.
That's such a process.
Yes.
And I feel that I'm extremely blessed to have learned it young. My situations required me to. I mean, it was a matter of survival to do that. Very physically survival, but also emotionally. Mm-hmm. And you asked the question earlier about where has this led me now, and where you met me. When I started getting healthy again, and I thought, well, hey, maybe I should go back to school. And that seems like what normal people do. And that should be like the next step in my life. I'm 27. I got really nothing going for me besides understanding hospital and doctors really well. So maybe I should venture out. And I always thought that going back to school was completely out of the cards. You're older, and I just thought I'd feel awkward, like I missed that chance. But I just remember I had this thought, hey, you should look at school. And I thought, well, maybe I'll just go back to where I started. Why not? I'll just call them and just get some information. I was in Kentucky this time, and I was calling the West. So it was evening for me. It was afternoon for them. I remember I was sitting in the kitchen, and I was like, Mom, I'm just going to call BYU Idaho and just see what would it take for me to get back into school. I'm just curious. And she perked up, and she's like, really? You're thinking about school? It's like, yeah, I think I'm ready. I think I have enough tools within me that I don't think it'll break me. I think I'm strong enough to know when to slow down and when not to. So I called them. as friendly as can be. I just said, look, my name's so-and-so. I went to school a really long time ago. And I even had my old ID card. I pulled that out and I was like, my number is this. Could you just look me up? And could you just tell me what I need to do to apply again? I'm just curious. She takes all the information and she says, Emily, could you hold on? And she was gone for a really long time. And I thought, well, I'm lost in the system. There's no way that they would even know me. She comes back and she's hesitant. She goes, Emily, I'm not sure how this is possible, but you are still an active student. In fact, there's a scholarship waiting for you.
Wow.
So she goes, I have no idea, but don't question it. Go with it. And I thought, there's no way. And I kept saying, are you sure? Are you sure that you have the right person? Because it's been this many years. There's no way that I would be still a student. But she goes, no, I've double checked. I had someone else double check. It seems that you're meant to be here.
Wow.
I said, well, when does school start? And she's like, 2 weeks. I was like, okay, thanks. I got off the phone and I just turned to my mom. I was like, Mom, I think I'm going to school in 2 weeks. And she heard the whole conversation and she had this giant smile on. And my dad come in and he's like, well, what are you up to? And I was like, Dad, I think it's time. And it was a moment of celebration. And a week later, I had things packed and I found an apartment. My mom drove out with me and I started school. And you knew me a few semesters after that. So I went back understanding very completely that I was there for a purpose and I wasn't going to waste that. And that has been a driving force for me for the rest of my life, that there is something beyond me. And I think everyone will experience that in one way or another. I recognize this is a very outlier experience, that this isn't uncommon, but I think everyone will have the experience where they'll know that this is where I'm supposed to be and my time matters.
Yeah.
I have felt that time matters and I should use that to the fullest because the Lord really paved the way for me to be there, and I wanted to use that to the fullest. So yeah, I jumped right in after that.
Yeah. That's amazing. That scholarship was there and waiting.
Who knew? Some kind soul took pity on me and thought maybe this girl will come back.
Wow.
And apparently I did some digging once I got there. It'd been sitting in that account for many years. That I awarded it a while ago, and that they never took it out. That once it's awarded, I guess they keep it in that. And it was there.
That's amazing. I love that. Thanks for sharing that. I love that story.
You're welcome.
Well, Emily, thanks for sharing this experience with us. Anything else that you have learned along this journey or that you wanted to share?
I think when everything was happening, I never asked that question, like, why me?
Mm-hmm.
I just thought, well, why not me? Everyone gets sick. I don't think that this is a singular thing, that this is just what it means to be human. Your body's weak. And this just happens to be the manifestation of what it means to be human. And it wasn't until way later, now I'm in my 30s and now I'm looking back and now I'm asking these questions and you wonder, why now is it hitting me now? All this time. And you then wonder, I know that the Lord loves me, but why does he love me? What is it about me that would make him want to save me, want to give me more time, want to put so many incredible people in my life that would change it? And I've known that I have been beyond blessed with individuals coming at the right moment as an encouragement, as a mentor, as just someone to laugh with. Looking back on all the array of experiences, I now wonder, why is it the Lord loves me this much to give me so much, but to give me so much in the form of struggle, in the form of something that's so hard. And I'm now understanding that, well, that's always been there. It's not a qualifier. That is just automatically what it means to be from divinity, is that love is there. It's unconditional. It's part of that's not something that I have to wonder why. My only job now is to not be constrained by my lack of ability to take in God's love at times, but my ability to then learn how to love other people. Someone really wise, when I went back to school, She said, our job isn't to perfect each other or even perfect ourselves. Our job is to perfectly love each other.
Mm.
And for me, I've been so grateful for the realization that love it's this welcoming, that if I just let myself be welcome, if I let myself receive that, then naturally I have the ability to love deeper and to love more. And for me, that's what all of this has been about,
Mm-hmm.
is to learn how to accept that love.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And I do agree with that. I have on my wall in my office a quote, and I don't know if it's a quote, it's kind of my own internal mantra, is that love is all that matters. Like,
Yeah.
that is the driving force in this life, in this universe. And if we can learn to receive it, tap into that, and then offer it to others, I do believe that is what we're trying to do here.
Right.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being willing to share all of that and the things that you have gained along this journey in life.
Well, Liza, I really appreciate you asking these questions, and thank you for the work that you're doing.
Well, that's our show. Thanks for spending this week with me. Love is all that matters. I think that's so powerful. Her story of people praying for her in that perfect moment that helped strengthen her, and then finding that paper, that's just amazing. Just to give her that one more little heavenly wink and divine manifestation that God had things under control, even when she felt out of control. So I love that message. Emily, thanks so much for sharing. A reminder to celebrate my birthday with me today by jumping onto iTunes and writing a review for the podcast. Let's spread the word, share it with friends and family, uplift those that you love. I think also remember to pray for those that you love and that are in need of prayers. I believe in the power of prayer so much. And I think Emily's story just reaffirms that to me, how powerful prayers are in strengthening others. 1 John chapter 4, 18 through 19, and St. John chapter 15, verse 12. There is no fear in love, but perfect love casteth out fear, because fear hath torment. He that feareth is not made perfect in love. We love him because he first loved us. This is my commandment, that ye love one another as I have loved you. I hope you can think of a time when you loved others the way God loved you and have prayed for others to feel that love. I believe in the power of that, and I hope that you can think of a time when you've done that and participated and received that kind of love. And as always, remember to notice and celebrate the miracles everywhere, because the more miracles we notice, the more miracles happen.